Hey, what's up guys, it's Nyra-Lee and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now today's video we're going to be talking about bulk cooking, something I've learned about recently, but it's something I absolutely love for feeding my family of 3. Now if you don't know what bulk cooking is essentially cooking a large amount of different meals at one time and then putting it in your freezer to eat throughout the rest of the month. The reason I love bulk cooking is because it frees up time and it allows me to not have to cook every single day of the week. Like, you literally put stuff in your freezer, pull it out, and you've got a ready meal. So today I'm talking about how I veganize traditional Ghanaian groundnut soup, light soup, and Jamaican Ital soup. Now most soups are made in pretty much the same way. You start by blending the base. So most Ghanaian soups and stews start by blending tomatoes, peppers, onions, ginger, garlic, and fresh herbs. In order to veganize these, I have introduced beans instead of the typical use of meat. So what I do is I soak the beans overnight and boil them in the morning until they're soft. So for this recipe, I used kidney beans and butter beans. You can use any beans you want, but that's what I had in the pantry. And then I also prep and chop the vegetables to add later. So while you're making soups, you're going to make sure that you continuously stir them so that they don't stick and burn to the bottom of your pan. And the other tip I have for this is you need to season to your heart desires. There's no recipe for this because I literally cook from the heart. I typically wing it because I know what flavor combinations needs to be in each soup. But the trick is to taste as you go along. If it's bland, you know you need to add more seasoning. And one thing to be wary of as well is that you're going to be adding water throughout the process. So it might water down the flavors, but at the end, the water kind of boils out and then you have the flavor that you need. In the Caribbean, we typically bulk up our soups and stews with ground provisions and vegetables. Ground provisions can include yam, cassava, and then sweet potato, Irish potato. You can use butternut squash. So that bulks up to make the soup more filling. And you also want to add fresh herbs because it adds a different type of fresh flavor than just using dried herbs. So me, I've got my greenhouse outside growing different types of herbs. I've got rosemary, thyme, mint, coriander, and most importantly basil. And so I introduce these at different stages of the cooking process. So the first soup I made was groundnut soup, which you can see me stirring here. The groundnut is actually peanut. You add it to your tomato base and cook it down. So yeah, there's a different variety of vegetables. I use butternut squash, kale, carrots, peppers, tomatoes, literally whatever I have in my fridge or whatever vegetables I'm feeling, I add it to the soup. And it's really nice because they boil down into being soft, so you don't really notice that there's carrots in the soup because it's not like the hard, crunchy texture that a carrot typically has. In Caribbean soups, we also sometimes cut up corn. I really struggled with this, but I cut it up into little handle, like bite-sized pieces and chucked it in the soup. So again, here I'm just tasting the groundnut soup, seasoning it to my heart desires. Complete seasoning is a great Caribbean seasoning to use in your food. So if you don't have that already, go to your local Caribbean market or Asian market and pick that up. And then here you can see my beautiful plate of vegetables. I've got onion, spring onion, carrot, red, green, and yellow bell peppers. And I add it towards the end. So I don't want them to be completely soft, but I want it to still have a bit of a bite to it. So yeah, I add that in the end along with my beans and along with my lentils. So the beans and the lentils act as a replacement for the protein that the meat would have been. So instead of meat, we use beans and lentils. Again, you can use any kind of bean you want, but I chose to use butter beans and kidney beans for the soups that I made today. So next we are starting the Ital soup. You know, it's got a kidney bean base. I added in some butternut squash, some fresh thyme, some fresh garlic, and some butternut squash. And I also add a scotch bonnet for some spice and some pimento seeds for flavour. With the Caribbean soup, the base is the kidney beans and the water that it cooked in. Then you add your vegetables, the seasonings, and then you add some coconut milk towards the end for that sweet and creamy flavour. So here again, I'm just tasting the groundnut soup and I'm adding seasoning along the way. I'm adding water along the way because you don't want it to be too thick. So in Jamaica, we use dumplings to bulk up our soups and stews. So here I'm making cornmeal dumplings. Some people call them spinners. I call them dumplings. Yeah, so you want to bulk up. So it's literally a mixture of cornmeal, flour, and water. Some people add salt, some people add sugar, but really just whatever you feel like doing that day. So I knead the dough until it's nice and soft, not too sticky, and it needs to have like a soft texture to it. And I roll them into different shapes and sizes. So some people do like the circle ones, some people do the long shape ones, and then you just drop it in your soup towards the end. And then again, like I said, you add coconut milk. This is a coconut block, which is kind of like a solidified coconut milk, but any kind of coconut flavor you have in there, you drop that into your soup along with any other vegetables that you want to add to it towards the end. So now I'm doing the base for the Ghanaian light soup. I blended onion and garlic and pepper, and I put it in a pot with tomato puree and oil just to boil down. And then I'm going to blend up some tomatoes and peppers to add once the aromatics have boiled, along with Maggi cube and some seasonings. I also caramelized onions on the side because I want to add that to the soups as well. As you can see, bulk cooking, you have to manage a lot of different pots and a lot of different steps. So as long as you're able to do that, it should be fine. And this was just me at the end, packing them into containers, ready to go into the freezer. So of course I let them cool down completely before I put the lids on and labeled them with masking tape and just a normal pen. And then I've got a deep freezer, so here you can see me stacking them up in order in the bulk freezer. I hope you like this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe and share, and follow me on TikTok, which is Shots by Nyra. Thank you. I won't let no one come and take your place, 'cause the love you give, I want to run around.